Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. It's day one of the Call of Duty League for 2023, and arguably one of the biggest dramas we've ever seen in Call of Duty is unfolding before our very eyes. OpTic have forfeited their first match in the CDL after a heated dispute with Minnesota Rokkr over a gentleman's agreemented streak that broke the game. So much to discuss today. It's absolute chaos. This is happening on day one. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's dive into things. Firstly, wanted to mention quickly, because I know you guys have been complaining, and understandably, that the Twitch experience isn't quite what it is on YouTube. It is possible to kind of rewind. If you go to the videos of the stream, then to past broadcast, you can rewind. It's not as good as YouTube, but it is a bit of a workaround, fortunately. Let's dive into the first series, Boston versus, FaZe, because this was not undramatic at all either. I mean, but the second series, man, just beyond belief. So these were the map sets. Okay, the graphics are nice, at least on the CDL this season, but yeah, some other things maybe not so nice about the broadcast. And aBeZy, man, what's going on here? I mean, fair play, but as soon as I saw that haircut, I knew that he was getting fried this series. Game one, though, didn't happen, but game one was weird because FaZe outslayed Boston, like, massively. They outslayed them by, I mean, what is this? 3, 10, 13, 21, 25 kills, and won by, like, 50 points or something. If you're outslayed by 25, you should not be just scraping a victory on aBeZy. So that kind of worried me. I was like, are FaZe playing actually sound hardpoint here? Turns out they weren't. Game two was pretty tight, to be honest. It looked like it was going to go either way, and then Wade clutched this massive 1 versus 2. No idea really why FaZe didn't have this option considered for him to hit the flank. Both looking the same way, both snaking the same thing. Wakening gets a free 2-piece, gets the bomb defusal, and they win that map. And, there's been some discussions on these maps, so I don't know how good they actually are for competitive, but man, that is not a talking point we can dwell on today. Then the control comes along on Fortress. This has been considered an incredibly defensive-sided map, and I think for good reason in scrims, but Boston just run through and get 2 offensive wins in a row on against FaZe here. Like, well, not in a row. They won round 1, round 3, but like, damn, this is crazy, not expected. FaZe, they've been so good in control the last few years, blown out in this particular game mode. And obviously the M4 has been causing a bit of a ruckus, right? That M4 is dominant. Yes, the Vadnev is good on occasion, but yeah, man, I don't know how long this M4 is going to survive. And then at the final map as well, this was a massive troll from FaZe, to be honest. I'm sure Ben Jenner seems probably saying it already to himself at least before he's on the flank. But yeah, I mean, on Hydra, it looked like FaZe were going to lock it up, send it to a game 5, but Boston were hitting some flanks in the water, and they were just making plays. And yeah, FaZe just, I don't know what they were thinking. They rotated too early, then they were like, damn, we gave up spawns, gotta go back, and just completely threw away that hard point. And well, Boston take it 3-1. Crazy series result, really, and Methods understandably, having to go at Aches after what he had to say on Boston's chances in this series. Like, usually such a good matchup for FaZe in the last couple of seasons, and I'm sure Arcitys is looking at this to a certain degree thinking, well, that's rather interesting, isn't it? But in fairness, FaZe have lost their first matchup of the last couple of seasons and still gone on to have decent years. Early days, of course, but yeah, nonetheless, a loss to Boston of all teams, especially in the manner that they did it, is not exactly a good start for Atlanta FaZe. Now, Slasher says sometimes it's like that, gotta focus up and go on to the next. But yeah, man, I would want to dwell on this further, but we just have to get into this OpTic series. Before that, we look at the stats here. Awakening a 1.31 for the dub. Okay, then, so here we go. The OpTic Texas versus the Minnesota Rokkr series. Thought it was going to be a banger. Game 5 written all over it. Should be an entertaining affair. Already, though, before the series began, delays were kicking in. I don't know if it was dev errors. I don't know if it was scanner repair. But look, I told you guys this was going to be a shambolic weekend, and there were going to be dramas and delays, but I didn't expect drama quite like this. OpTic doing a really cool thing, actually, here with doing a watch party behind the scenes for, basically they've got a camera up in the corner. You can see the guys playing their match. And incidentally, right at the end of all this drama, their camera turned off. And people were wondering, what's going on here? Is there something going on? Turns out there is something going on. This was kind of one of the pieces of footage here, and as you guys can see, the guys getting ready. Okay, yeah, there's no real lights on, but this is how gamers like to do it most of the time. And yeah, the boys lined up ready for their game. Now, Scump as well, just looking at his stats here, one interesting piece of trivia. His World Championship event, I suppose, will be, after 6 more events, his 100th event. So would you imagine if he managed to win Chaps or something after 100 events? But if things go as they currently have done, is he even going to ride out the season to the World Championship? Because, man, after what's happened here, I can't imagine what they are thinking internally within that OpTic camp. So the series cracks on. Game 1 was honestly pretty impressive in OpTic's favour. Scumpman on an AR is just a different beast. We saw this last season, right, when he was using it on Gavutu an awful lot, the auto, and now in this current meta, Scump can use the M4 a lot of the time, and it's just so good for him, right? This guy, no slide cancelling, he's an absolute force, and Shotzzy was making, like, this map is so hilarious. I was just cracking up watching them just dive all through the water and stuff. Shotzzy's a menace to deal with in the water, just straight Michael Phelpsing it. OpTic take map 1 relatively comfortably, but then Rokkr bounced back. Now, gotta mention as well, Twitch was absolutely killing it here, and I was so frustrated with the stream being, you know, subpar quality at times, and also all the delays, because we had like 140,000 people watching the stream, and there was a mega delay going on, and I'm like, look, a lot of these are new people coming in for the drops and other reasons, we've got to give them a good show, but yeah, we didn't really deliver that. But this actually was the highest ever viewed match in CDL history that wasn't a major match, which is kind of crazy to think about, and it's already smashed out the park the viewership records for the qualifiers, or at least the opening kind of peaks of the last few seasons. So that's a great thing, but well, then things didn't go so great. Firstly, for OpTic Gaming, they got smoked in the search and destroy 6-0. The snipers were coming through left, right, and center, but yeah, OpTic just didn't really have what it took on this one. Minnesota expected really to be a very strong search and destroy team this season, but then the control, and this is where it really goes crazy. So it's LSELO control, really difficult to win an offense here, goes to round 5, and Scump inside this hut was making play after play. This guy was practically unkillable, got kill streaks towards the end of the game, called them in, got the kills required, and OpTic won what looked like a really difficult offense to win. They got the job done. Scump got a kill here. I think he doesn't actually get this kill, but Dashy gets the kill, and as you guys can see zooming in there is one arrow in Cammy, who was basically standing still and not doing all that much. Now, the Rokkr guys were not happy about this at all. OpTic just clutched up big time. Scump went massive, like again, dropped like a 1.5 KD or something this map as well, just like he did in game 1. So it looks like OpTic took it. Yeah, fair play. Congratulations. What a victory. Go on to map 4. However, things don't quite go that way as time progresses. This was the initial reaction from the OpTic guys when they won. Scump was super hyped about his play, understandably, right? Here he comes, just, you know, super hyped for this game 4, because, you know, he knows he's absolutely delivering the goods on the stage. However, this is then the immediate tweet that comes out from Brian Sate, the coaching staff in the Minnesota Rokkr. Cam, that being Cammy, got stuck in his score streak for the last 15 seconds of that map, and his character couldn't move or call in his streak, his stake. So yeah, I guess his filet mignon got stuck to the pan or whatever, but I mean, yeah, so this is the thing. The game is broken. Now, there's 2 kill streaks as it stands in the game that the players use. One of them, I think the SAE, is gentleman's agreemented, and that's really where things get spicy here. So, yeah, the SAE is GA'd, but you can't deactivate it. You can't, like, remove it from your character. It has to sit there. So the pros have decided between them that this streak is not allowed. They are allowed to use the one that Scump is calling in here, the cruise missile. So let's say you go to call in your cruise missile, you press down and then you press to call it in, and but you maybe don't press down, or it's a little bit glitchy and it doesn't select the one you want to go to, it selects the GA'd one by accident, which is presumably what happened here with Cammy, then it can actually freeze your game. That's one of the issues with this streak, is that the SAE can sometimes bug your game out and freeze it such that you basically, your game just crashes, right? And you just sit there still, can't do anything. He was trying to call in his cruise missile, which may have been able to keep OpTic off the point. That's the key issue here. OpTic got in, they captured the point, won the round. If he'd have successfully called in his streak and the game hadn't bugged, then he might have been able to defend that, and that's where the question lied. Should they have replayed the final rounds is where, you know, the questions were being raised here. Now, lots of discussion going back and forth. Brian Sate then confirms he had a precision, he was trying to call it in, but got it wrong and called in the other one by accident. Now, look, the initial delay here was massive. We were like, what's going on? Is this a dev error? Is this a scan or repair? Why are we waiting, like, you know, effectively hours, really, to get a resolution? And we didn't realize until we saw some, you know, footage from the OpTic camp that there was really some drama brewing here. Even there was some footage here of, you know, Dashy just straight up losing it on the camera about what was going on, and that you can't blame it with this situation. And then he started tweeting this out. So he just went to a whole new level of going rogue, but you can understand the frustration. Minnesota took doing whatever it takes to another level, actually shameless, and then followed it up with this one. I don't know what I'm more pissed off about. Minnesota being weirdos about this situation, or that the league is actually buying at the BS from that camp. So basically OpTic is saying, doesn't matter, like, you call in your streak, you know, it's your fault for calling in a GA'd streak, right, and glitching your game. That's your fault. The streak's banned by the pros, you know, don't use it. Now, and you know, maybe they're also making the argument that it wouldn't have mattered. Like, obviously you can look back at the footage and say whether it would not have made a difference, but if he had successfully called in the streak that he wanted to, would it have won them the round? Would OpTic have still won anyway? Was there enough time? Like, that's the debate. And OpTic is saying, like, we won the game, you know, let's just play on, because there's been many occasions in the past where similar glitches haven't been dealt with. But clearly Minnesota were going so hard at them, like at the CDL guys, that they were like, hang on, we've got to figure this out. And like, as I sit here now, it's still not being resolved. I'm looking on the screen, it's still not been resolved. I have no idea what's happening. Well, at least the CDL hasn't said anything yet. So look, OpTic and Minnesota playing a 5-minute walkaways as accuracy. I think they should settle this in person. This is just absolutely going crazy, to be honest. And then it obviously Rokkr replies with some pretty funny stuff as well because the iPad was frozen, kind of reflecting what was happening within the game state itself. And then people were like, okay, what's the conclusion going to be here? Is the CDL going to say, all right, guys, you know, whatever, OpTic, you win the map, let's just move on? They don't do that. OpTic decide, you know what, we've had enough of this BS. Minnesota are being weirdos. The league, for some reason, is buying into this. We're just going to make the ultimate power play and forfeit our game. We don't care anymore. Like, we're just going to show the CDL that, yeah, we're not interested in their BS, and we're going to take the loss. Whatever, we lose the series, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we'll still get through to the group stages of Major 1 and have a decent chance to qualify out of the group regardless. But yes, the Scump confirms OpTic forfeited their game. This is like, I've never seen this before in COD history for a team to forfeit from their own volition, effectively. iLLeY even comes out and follows up and says it was pathetic, and I've actually just done an interview here with Shotzzy where he explains the situation basically as we just described, but he reckons that from them reviewing the footage, they say they would have won 100% guaranteed, and therefore the idea that the CDL was going to replay it was obviously deeply frustrating to them, and they decided, you know what, you're not having this, we're just going to take the L and just put the L in CDL.
Just looking back at it, like, it's so hard to, like, I don't know, I feel like we would have won 100% just by analyzing it, like, yeah, I mean, there's honestly nothing to say there. I feel like we definitely would have won that for sure.
Mm-hmm. And kind of talk a little bit about the emotions of the team right now. Obviously, everyone's like pretty.
Oh yeah,
pretty
I'm sad. I'm honestly just sad. I mean, everyone's pissed off right now. It's the most weirdest thing I've ever been a part of. I'm not gonna lie, we literally just forfeited a match.
Thanks to Regatchi and a couple of others for pointing these messages out to me, but this is in Nadeshot's stream, where Scump says the game was over, they would have won for sure, and he used a GA'd streak. That's the other thing here that's getting people frustrated, and obviously, you know, kind of Shotzzy saying he's just sad about the situation, but Hitch says, right, team uses a GA'd streak. Now, it's not banned in the rules. This is the thing. The CDL can't say, oh, it's banned, you know, it's your fault, because it's not banned in the rules, but it's banned by the pros behind the scenes in the unofficial rule set. So, you know, the game breaks because of using a GA'd streak. Whose fault is that now, as Jacob says? And you could argue that, you know, it's not really their fault because you kind of have to keep it equipped in the game. Now, you know, this is also another interesting point from Hitch. You're losing the game, call in that streak, get the free replay, right? Which is a very fair and valid point that, like, I'm not saying Cammy did it in this case. I don't think he did. But in theory, you could use this glitch to your advantage to get a replay in a suspect situation. So, yeah, man, I don't even know what to say anymore. The other part of the story here is, like, you know, should OpTic have done this? Like, is this an appropriate course of action? As I say, I think that because these Major 1 qualifiers are less important in the grand scheme of things, all the teams will get through the qualification stage into Major 1, they'll all get through to groups, like, with the possibility to get out, so I don't think it matters to them too much. It is 10 CDL points they've thrown away, though, here. And could you argue, like, whatever, just play the replay and get on with it? Like, you know, maybe you could. But at the same time, I can understand, because you look back at previous instances, you guys might remember the Envoy Bacage pistol glitch he got. They didn't get a replay for that. The teams complained maybe a little bit, but not as much as Minnesota did. And even this Arcitys, right, last year at Major 1, when his PC lagged, they had to replay against OpTic on a Gavutu offense, and that wasn't favorable for FaZe either. So an absolute shambolic state of affairs. And as I record the video, I think the CDL have just confirmed this on stream that it's chalked and OpTic have forfeited. And they're now going on to the final 2 series of the day with, you know, how many hours are we delayed at this point? 3 hours or 2 hours delayed? I don't even know anymore. But yeah, I'm going to go to bed, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow, because I'm sure there's going to be more drama on this to talk about when we wake up. So yeah, that's going to do it for today. Pretty uneventful day, as I'm sure you guys can tell. And yeah, we'll be back soon with more CDL travels to cover. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.